Yes, people, we are back. We were talking in the first episode about getting in to church. Of course, we're talking to you guys, students, young adults, young people who are coming to university for your first year, returning to university for your second year,
third year, fourth year,
fifth year, whatever you're in right now. We want to help encourage you through what we're discussing today. And today, we are talking about getting into community. Tim, I know you are a huge, massive church fan. Not just because it's your job.
Yes, right.
Because you paid too. Yeah, because you love the body of Christ. But I can hear people saying community. What does that even mean?
Yes, straight. And so like, and last time we talked about church, getting in church, and obviously church is community. So church is a people. We said last time church is a people, not a building. But we talked about the importance of church and the structure of it and the rhythm of it, all the rest of it. But today, yeah, you're right, community. Where do we start?
Wow.
So let's start by defining community.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah.
So community really is people who you can be real with,
Right.
people who you can be vulnerable with,
Right.
people who know you, who see you, and also really it's people who will challenge. You said last time, iron sharpens iron. That's a really powerful proverb. And actually community is designed, in terms of the biblical narrative of community, is designed to be about supporting you and you supporting others in a mutually beneficial relationship to grow more like Jesus Christ. That's
Right.
the purpose of biblical community.
Okay.
And so when we talk about community here, we're talking about, hey, people who are going towards Jesus, who want to look more like him, who want their lives to reflect him, and helping each other do that. So that's what we're talking about community. And the importance of getting in to a community like that, especially if you're starting university for the first time, but again, coming back after summer or whatever, is powerfully important. And I just want to just be really clear why that is. You can't do it by yourself. You can't walk life by yourself.
Right.
You can't, you're not designed as a human being to be isolated. You're not designed as a human being to be outside of a support network,
Right.
which can help you, guide you, challenge you, love you, support you. And often what we try and do is that we try and fill that hole that we need loving relationships with all sorts of things.
Right.
So we fill them with one person. So listen, how many times you said, my mates don't talk to her, they've got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or my mates don't talk to her, they've got this boyfriend, whatever else it is. And sometimes the temptation is to fill that need for being known or seen or loved with just one person.
Right.
Especially in our culture, because we live in a sexualized world. We live in a culture where like love is defined as sexual intimacy.
Right.
You see it in every advertising, you see it in everything from TV to Toctic, whatever you not call it, like whatever it is. And actually, like there's something really important for us to know, that we are not, that is not community.
Right.
That isn't going to meet that need. No amount of interaction with someone who you would call a partner will meet the overall need for your community. And we need to be really clear about that. And I think the other thing is that we want to be in a place where we don't bring, I said last time, our Instagram self.
Right.
You know, like we don't want to be in a position where we are putting on a face or a front of what we think people want. Listen, I've got to tell you, it is the most exhausting thing, trying to be someone who you're not. And the thing about community is you come with all your strength,
Right.
and all your weakness.
Okay.
And the most amazing thing about Jesus, about the Lord, is that he says, boast only in your weakness, because that's where I'll make you strong. And actually, if you can come real in the things you're struggling with, and if you can come real in the things you're good at, you've just found yourself a valuable member of a community of people.
Okay.
And when we talk about student community, we're talking about obviously an age group. We're talking about people in a certain season of life.
Right.
When we talk about church community, we're talking about Christians. We're talking about people who are going in the same direction, walking towards Jesus, becoming like Jesus. But I've got to tell you, if you feel like you have to hide something about yourself, either you're too much or you're too weak, or I don't know, like you watch too much porn, or like you're in this relationship, or whatever it is.
Right.
I'm like, you got to kill that thing in your life.
Right.
And you can't do it on your own.
Right.
You can't walk through journeys where you're weak by doing it by yourself. And here's the other temptation, is that you find people who are weak like you. It's like, hey, I struggle with pornography. Hey, me too. And it's like becomes this pity party. I'm like, that ain't community. Friends, I've got to tell you, that's not community. I don't know if this is harsh for like your second video, but like that ain't community. Like, community isn't the place where you have a pity party, rub each other on the back and say, hey, like it'll be all right tomorrow, because it's never all right tomorrow.
Right.
Community is about being involved with people who can lift you up, challenge you, call you something higher. Right. And actually, there's something really amazing about being part of that community, and that's what we're going after the students this year.
Right. And obviously, we talked about it a little bit last time. You know, sort of that fear of plugging in, because as you say, like for all of us, there's any number of things we could be struggling with, going through, that can make it feel a little bit more difficult to want to connect with people. Because if I take the veil off and I'm exposed to people, well, now I'm vulnerable and I'm going to get hurt. But as you were saying, you know, there's no reward without no risk. So for those people that are saying, look, I want to be in community, but again, I'm fearful, I'm a bit nervous, like. What is it they're going to get out of being in a student community, in a church community? Yeah.
Powerful. You'll receive so much, because what happens is that when you give of yourself and you're the first person to do it, or like you're in a community of people that you agree to do that together, and you bring yourself to a conversation, you bring yourself to an environment, what happens is that you'll build the deepest relationships you'll ever have in your life. So if you want to know what you get out of like being vulnerable, taking the veil off, it means that you actually have relationships that mean something. Right. That's the biggest thing you get. And so our culture doesn't celebrate deep and meaningful relationships. Right. Our culture celebrates surface level relationships, whether it's sexual or Instagram or like whatever else it is. It's putting your right foot forward, or putting like your best self on, even if inside you're dying. Right. I'm like, actually, those aren't deep relationships. They weren't the relationships that we were meant to be in. God didn't create us for that. God created us to grieve with those who grieve, mourn with those who mourn, celebrate with those who celebrate, and be open and be honest about the situation, the season that we're in. So if you want one thing that you'll get out of being involved in community, it's deep relationships that will probably last you a lifetime. Right. And those deeper relationships, we're not even just talking about horizontal. We're talking about vertical too, right? There's like, you know, you're nearly 40. I'm nearly 30. The disrespect of pastors in this place is unreal. I'm nearly 30. We're all growing. Yeah, but there's, you know, you might find yourself having made friends with somebody that is far beyond you in age, but the connection that they bring, you know, that might even help you. You know, we've all been in situations. Somebody you know can help you do the floor in your house. Somebody's, you know, can help you do your mortgage. Somebody knows more about houses. They know more about, I don't know, money, everything. So we're talking about community in the sense of there's not only loads of place and space to give. There's a lot of people to get to know and a lot of people to gain and learn from too, right? 100%. And absolutely. And that's why we've chosen our leaders and students really particularly, because you've got a lot of experience, you've got a lot to give, you've got a lot to gain. And I think that's absolutely right. So when we talk about horizontal, so you're right, we're talking about vertical relationships, going deep. Right. Going deep with God, clearly, right. Like that's the vertical. And just so you guys know, the whole point about the cross as the symbol of Christianity is the depth of relationship with God, and it's the nature of relationship with humanity. And as Jesus stretches his arms wide on the cross, he is a representation of heaven and earth joining and human beings coming together in his name. That's the whole point about that symbol of the cross. And so you get the vertical, you get the horizontal, and then you also get, like you're saying, wisdom. You get mentoring. Yep. Now listen. Let's be clear about what mentoring is here, right? So you're not going to get someone probably who's going to sit down with you every single day, but you will get people that will be available for you to talk to process with, and people with experience, with life experience, people that have graduated, people that have got jobs, and people that have what's ever happened. And I think that's a really important part of what it is to be part of a community, where you get to learn, where you have people that can teach you, where you have people who are that little bit further on in their journey. And we call that here discipleship. I guess that's probably some of the terminology that we'd use for it, which is basically people coming alongside you. We call it pastoral support. Again, people coming alongside you. And yes, 100% Kwess. Community is about learning from people that have gone that step further on. And here's the deal. You're a disciple when you're one step behind someone.
Right.
You're a discipler when you're one step ahead of someone.
Right.
And it is that simple. And so what you'll also find is that there'll be people that are behind you in their journey, like when you serve on youth or you're serving kids, or like they're younger than you, like I've got much experience, and you get to disciple them. You get to show them what you've learned. And so like there's this amazing reciprocal process of receiving and giving and receiving and giving and receiving and giving. It's not about getting all the time. Right. It's not about receiving all the time. It's not about giving all the time. It's about the reciprocal nature. That's what community is, where you learn, where you glean, where you give, and you continue doing that over and over again. And the biblical principle behind this is you reap what you sow.
Right.
And so, talk about the parable of the sower. Jesus talked about his words. But let me just correlate that through in terms of like just the general principle of reaping what you sow. Hey, when you give into a relationship, you get as much as you give into it, right?
Right.
So if you sow like a little bit of yourself, you give like 10% of yourself, you'll get 10% of someone else.
Right. Right.
But actually, the idea of sowing into relationships, sowing into community, is so that actually the more you give, the more you receive.
Right.
And it's that reciprocal process that's a really important part.
That's beautiful. So I'm hearing you say that someone coming into this community, you know, they can trust at the very least, like they're going to be people around them that are going to help them grow, help them build, and also have people come alongside them that are going to help them walk out the journey of faith.
We've got student mentors. We've got like you guys who are pastoral leads of the years. We've got people that will teach you the Bible. Will come to the school. I run a school. It's sick. I'm just saying. Is that a good word now?
Yeah. That's been sick.
So someone said to me the other day, that's bad.
Yeah, that's
and apparently it means it's good.
Yeah.
Listen, I got to tell you, it is a confusing world that we live in. So get involved in the community.
You're also going to find there's people that you can educate with words, colloquialisms, whatever.
Listen, and that's me.
Right.
Listen, I can talk my first degree history and philosophy.
Right.
So I can talk to you about Michel Foucault, Jacques Derrida. I'm talking about Jean-Paul Sartre, Immanuel Kant, and George Hegel, and Karl Marx.
Right.
You try and talk to me how people talk, I'm like, I ain't got a clue.
Yeah.
I'm literally no clue.
I hear you. Nice. Look, and I know you would have wanted people to definitely know that when you're coming into community, of course, we talked about it in the first episode, but it's about being you, being known, being seen.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be some people that are going to come and they're going to feel nervous and they're going to want to hide at the back.
Of course.
What are you saying to those people coming into community? Are you saying don't hide yourself away? Are you saying come in and make yourself known to people?
100%. And listen, hiding has two roots.
Right.
Shame or fear.
Got you.
So if you're hiding, you're either scared of something or you're ashamed of something. So let's go back to the garden, right?
Right.
So
of Eden.
Sorry, yeah. Let's be clear. Of Eden.
Right. Not Gethsemane.
No, we're not going there. We're going like right
back.
And Adam and Eve are told by the Lord, by God, by Yahweh, don't eat of this one tree,
right? The
knowledge of good and evil. And then the sneaky snake comes along,
right?
The serpent, Lucifer, comes along and he's like, hey, did God really say that? Do you know why he said that? It's because actually, if you eat of this knowledge of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you'll become like him. Lie number one, you're already like God.
Right.
So actually the idea is that somehow the devil's saying this lie in us that we're not like God.
Right.
That we're not created in his image.
Right.
But what happens? They eat the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and then they realise they're naked. They're vulnerable.
Right.
They are seen. They can see.
Right.
They're seen. They're known. They're vulnerable. And what they do, they create fig leaves and they put it over themselves. and they're ashamed of their nakedness.
Right.
They're ashamed of their vulnerability, and they're ashamed of their sin in terms of disobeying the Lord. And it's really important that we know, and then they hide, right?
Right.
So they're scared. So here's the pattern of all humanity that you find at the beginning of time.
Right.
Disobedience, sin, shame, hiding, fear, and out of that, no longer able to be in the presence of God.
Right.
So, So what we're doing is that when we hide, we're reciprocating the Garden of Eden.
Right.
Reciprocating the word. We are repeating the Garden of Eden.
We're doing the same thing we did back then.
Same thing. And guys, I've got to tell you something. Listen, the Bible is the most beautiful book. It's the most historically accurate religious text you'll ever come across, and that's proven. If you want anything about that, come get me. I'll talk to you about that. If you're a Muslim watching and you want a conversation about Bible and Quran, come get me. But not only is it the most historically accurate, it's also a beautiful Hebraic understanding of the nature of humanity. And from the beginning of time, human beings are ashamed of their sin and they hide. Hey, or they're scared of God and they hide.
Right.
So if you're hiding at the back, if you don't want to be known, you don't want to be seen, then at the root, you're either scared, you're fearful, or you're ashamed.
Right.
The only way that you can get over shame and get over fear is by making yourself known. That's the only way that you can do it. And also, just so you know, fear, Paul is very clear that fear has to do with punishment.
Right.
So we are fearful in some way of punishment, or we are fearful in some way of people not thinking that we match up.
Right.
That we live up to what the standard should be.
Okay.
We're worried that if people find out the real us,
right.
they're not going to want to know us.
Right.
If they find out the real us, they're going to punish us with rejection.
Right.
So here's what we do. We reject first. It's like, hey, if people know who I am, I'm going to push them away before they push me away.
Right.
And what we do is we project that onto God. So when we come into church, we come into a community of God's people, we project onto God, hey, He's not going to love me because I did this, or like this is what I think, or whatever else it is.
Wow.
And then we say, hey, before He rejects me, or before His people reject me, I'm going to reject Him.
Right.
I'm not going to come in with my full self. I'm not going to come in with my hands up. I'm going to come in with my hands in my pockets and my arms folded. I'm going to see what it looks like to be involved in this place. And actually, if at any point it feels like people get to know me, I'm done. I'm out.
Right.
I'm gone.
So I'm not even going to come student church on a Thursday. I'm not going to come church I'm not going to embed myself into community because it's too risky.
Absolutely. And it is a risk. Because actually, because here's the thing. Listen, you come to me, you're like, hey, got this issue, or you come to me and you're like, hey, I've got this gift. Listen, It's both ways. It's not the sin, it's like the things we're good at, right? Right. So like we often talk about the sin bit, it's like we're scared of like revealing our sin, but actually it's not. Sometimes we're scared of revealing what we're passionate about. Right. Okay. Sometimes we're scared of revealing what we want to do with our lives, because actually it's really risky. It's like, you come to me and like, hey, I want to be like a YouTuber. Right. I'm like, Kwess. Yeah. Don't be an idiot. Right. Like, you're never going to make, whatever it is, you project these things into conversations that may not be real. Right. Now what's really funny is that if you can get over risk, or I'm really passionate about this, like if you can get over risk, or if you can get over fear, or if you can get over shame, what happens is that you can come to me and you can go, hey Tim, listen, like I really want to be someone who is involved in politics. Right. And then you get to test the water. Right. You get to test it. Can you trust me with your heart? Right. Can you trust me with your dream? Right. Can you trust this pastor with something that's really important to you? And if I turn around to you and go, you're nothing. Right. What are you going to do with that? What's happened is that you took a risk and it didn't work out for you, but the risk was still important. But what you're going to find is that more in our community, I think, than anywhere that I've experienced, is that someone's going to say to you, hey, how can I help with that? Right. True. Hey, like, how can I come alongside you with that? Right. You want to write policy for government? I've got a friend that can do that. We've got people in church that can do that. Right. You want to invest in like property? You want to like make money? You want to invest in business? We've got businessmen and property developers in our church. Amen. How can we help you to do that? And actually, like, when you risk a lot, you gain a lot. It is that simple. Right. Listen, this is completely true. Now, Parable of Talents, Matthew, I'm going to say 26, 28. It's not 28. 24.
Correct us in the comments.
Yeah, straight. In the comments, tell you what the scripture is. I think it's Matthew 24. Should have prepped this. See, this is Noah's life, right? Parable of talents.
Right.
This master goes away and he says to 3 servants, you get 10, you get 5, you get 2.
Right.
Steward my money. Steward the good talent is money. Steward that finance.
Right.
The one with 10 makes 10 more. The one with 5 makes 5 more. The one with 2 buries it.
Right.
The master comes back. This is paraphrased clearly. The master comes back and goes, hey, well done, good and faithful servant. I gave you 10. Hey, you made 10 more. I can trust you with a little bit, and now I can trust you with a lot.
Right.
So it's the same to the guy with 5 talents. He makes 5 more. Same message. Well done, good and faithful servant. The dude that buries his money because he's scared,
right,
because he's fearful, because he's worried about what it looks like to invest,
right, come on,
to take a risk with money, but also with his master.
Right.
What happens is he goes, "You wicked servant! You could at least give it to the bankers to get some interest on that."
Right.
It's the same. It's the principle.
Right.
The more that you risk, the more that you give, the more that you are able to put yourself out there and say, hey, listen, this ain't even my money. This ain't even my gift. God's given me this gift.
Right.
I'm going to put it out there.
Right.
Actually, even if you lost it all, even if, I mean, in the parable of talents doesn't happen like this, but even if you lost it all, the master comes back and says, hey, well done, good and faithful servant.
Right.
Because actually it's about the risk that you're willing to take with the thing that God's given you, as opposed to the thing that you've got to hide in case someone rejects you.
Right.
And actually, if you're in a position where you can come into community and be yourself, then it's going to be powerful for you. Because here's the other thing, you're going to learn where you fit.
Right.
Because actually, you come to me and you're like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to preach. I'm like, cool, start kids.
Right.
And that's the hard bit, isn't it?
Right.
Because in your head, you've also got the outworking definition of what you want to do.
Right. Which might not look like kids.
Absolutely. Yeah. It might look like 2 million people on YouTube.
Yeah, I hear you.
Or it might look like a stadium event.
Right.
And I'm like, listen, Zechariah is really clear. Don't despise small beginnings.
Right.
Because in those small beginnings, you build character. Now here's the real thing about community.
Right.
You can come with all the things you're good at and all the things you're bad at.
Right.
But community will build your character.
Right.
Because if you have a gift and no character, your gift is wasted on you.
Right.
Because you cannot steward the gift in your life.
Okay.
The whole point about community, especially leaders in your community, is that they'll see you and they'll be like, I see that gift. Yes, you're amazing. Hey, but you need to steward this gift well. Right. Which means that you have to learn character. Right. Which means that you have to actually serve in an area that you might not want to do. Right. So let me tell you a real story I've had over and over again in church. Hey, I want to be on a worship team. Yeah. I'm really good at music. Right. I want to be on a worship team. I want to be leading worship. I've got a good voice. Like, it's a gift of my life. God's given me this call. And I'm like, powerful. Right. We've got a kids ministry team that lead worship. Can you serve there, please? Right. And I know immediately if you're willing to have your character grown, and if you're willing to be part of community by your answer in that moment. Right. Because actually, if you think it's a gift on your life, if you think it's a gift that God's called you to, then I'm like, why wouldn't you start with kids? Right. And impact the next generation.
It's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Got you.
But if you've got a definition that says, hey, that's not success.
Look like this, right.
That's not success like. Success looks like main stage. Right. No, it doesn't. Right. Success looks like you going low, you being humble, and you serving in the gift, and watch the doors open. Got you. I'm serious. Now listen, I've got to be real. Well, I came to Cromer, like I'm one of the senior team. I came to Cromer, I'm like, I'm going to do this. Right. I'm going to do this. Right. I'm going to get this done. Right. And Steve's senior pastor, he's like, I want you to do this. And I'm like, okay. Right. All right, Steve. Right. But here's the deal. I did it. I did it really well. And Steve's like, I can trust you. Right. Listen to me. Community is about not hiding. It's about not being full of shame. It's not about not fearing. It's about coming as your whole self. And it's also about having your character grow. Right. Because it doesn't take a genius to see a gift, but it takes a leader to grow your character. Wow, okay. And I'm like, hey, are you willing to come and have your character grow in the community? It's a powerful thing.
Yeah. So I'm hearing you say, listen, when people are coming, when students are coming to embed in this church, they should also expect that they are going to be invested in.
Absolutely right.
That people are going to help develop what they've got,
100%.
good and bad.
100%.
So it's a foregone conclusion. It's a no-brainer that you're actually making a very positive choice and a very critical investment by placing yourself in a church and student community if you're at student age.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely right. And it's intentional.
Right.
Like, you don't flop into community. It's
Right.
not accidental. Like, you can walk into church of 500 people, sit at the back and leave. That ain't community. That's
Right.
you going to church.
Right.
It's you doing church.
Right.
Listen, I got to tell you something. Church ain't about that. Church isn't about you ticking the box and saying, God, I did it this week.
Right.
Community isn't about you coming in and going like this. I'm going to sit aloof.
Right.
Peace.
Right.
I've done my bit. I'm like, no. Community looks like you coming in and you being like, hey, I got to tell you something. I messed up with this girl this week. Whatever.
Whatever it is.
That's what community looks like. And it's scary, it's vulnerable, it's risky, but it's the thing that will change your life.
Right.
If you let it.
And it's worth it.
It's 100% worth it.
Amen. Amen. Well, look, I know we touched on it a little bit earlier. We were talking about the word, but we're going to do that in a whole other episode.
I'm going to go crazy on the word. Crazy on the word.
I could feel it. I was like, oh, man.
I'm going to go.
Yeah. So look, guys, stay tuned to another episode where we're going to talk about getting into the word, which is another important aspect of
Get into church, get into community, get into the word.
Yes. But thank you for watching this one. Share it, put it out, tell your friends so they can also get into community with you. Drag them along to church. In fact, in my second year of uni, I convinced one of my friends that if we went to a rave with her, the next day she had to then agree to come to church. She's still in church today and I've not been to a rave since. That's actually a lie. I went a couple times afterwards. But the ratio is a lot more favorable to my side. So what I'm saying is bring your friends to church. Bring your friends to church and we'll see you when you're here. Until the next episode, guys, take care, be blessed.
Peace.
Peace.